Unlike some people, we're just so happy. Look, we even have a baby. My cousin, who had an affair with my sister's ex-husband and had been estranged for 4 years, suddenly showed up at my parents' house, holding a baby. After our confrontation, we got married. Unlike someone single, every day is just so much fun. My cousin, who forced my sister and her ex-husband to divorce through a messy affair, gave a creepy smile as she glanced at my sister, who happened to be visiting our parents' house. Sorry about what happened before. Look closely at this kid's face, an angel, right? Totally different from someone ugly I used to be with. The reason my sister's ex-husband fell for my cousin was simple. She had looks that could rival a model's and a charm that can captivate countless men. Good thing, I divorced before having a kid with an ugly woman. Aren't you lucky to have a beautiful mom? My sister just looked down in silence. But little did anyone know that bad things were slowly creeping into this couple's happiness. Sorry to interrupt your happiness, but I was the first to notice those ominous signs. When I told the truth, my cousin and her husband turned pale. My cousin panicked, and my sister's ex-husband lost his mind. What exactly did I see? The happy family image my cousin is bragging about came crashing down, eventually turning to ashes, leaving nothing behind. And was cruelly scattered by the wind. My name is Jessica. I live with my sister Emily and our parents. My sister and I have been close since childhood, growing up together, pushing each other to be better individuals. Sometimes rivals, sometimes allies, my sister is a very important and irreplaceable part of my life. My aunt's family, my mom's sister, lived nearby. Her family though is a bit troublesome, and my mom has always been troubled by my aunt. My aunt is a cunning woman, always blaming my mom for her own misdeeds. Since childhood, she has caused various problems, breaking windows, starting small fires in the neighborhood, and vandalizing park equipment. She often got into trouble with the police. But she always pins the blame on my mom. With her remarkable acting, my grandparents always believed her, and unfortunately the blame always fell on my mom. This pattern repeated since they were kids, causing my mom to lose her grandparents' trust and gradually her place in the family. Only my aunt was loved. But my mom endured it all these years. No matter how much she tried to defend herself, she wasn't believed and nearly lost her sense of self-worth. It was around that time that she met my dad, got married, and left home. My grandparents were mildly obsessive about cleanliness and hated when the house was messy or when someone entered with dirty shoes. However, my aunt, who doesn't care, is always making a mess. And of course, everything is on my mom. Tired of this life, she left my grandparents, married my dad, had us sisters, and reached the peak of her happiness. But her freedom and peace didn't last long. My aunt also got married and moved near my mom's house. After a while, my aunt had a daughter, Julia, who is the same age as me. My aunt, as always with her personality, always mocks our family. That family's so poor, they'll scam you if you get too close. If Julia gets friendly with those dumb sisters, she'll become an outcast too. Julia is really cute. Compared to her, those sisters are so ugly, I can't even look at them. My cousin grew up hearing these insults from her mom. Eventually, my cousin did the same thing, she started looking down on us, just like her mom. Back in elementary school, me and my sister were the ugly sisters. By middle school, we were the poor sisters, as she constantly spread lies and rumors about us. Like our mom, my sister and I endured our cousin's bullying, supporting each other all the way. On a side note, my mom was born with a mysterious ability. It's the power to see things that the naked eye cannot normally see. It's not about spirits, but people's emotions that turn into colors visible only to my mom's eyes. My mom's mysterious power isn't well understood, making it hard for people to approach her easily. My dad is the only one who truly understands her. And that ability was, amazingly, passed down to me. Hey, everyone, if you hang around these ugly sisters, their ugliness might rub off on you. My cousin's voice, who attended the same middle school, echoed through the classroom. They're so filthy. I bet they don't even take a bath every day 'cause they're poor. My cousin, like her mother is blessed with good looks, took advantage of the attention she got to continue her attacks on us. I'm not gonna lie, compared to my cousin, who lived in a spacious new house, we lived in a small and old one. But it is this small space that brought our family closer, and the one room where all four of us slept together every night was warm even in the coldest winter. We weren't wealthy by any means, but we didn't lack anything, and we were happy. Meanwhile, my only child cousin was overly spoiled by her parents and lived life entirely on her own terms. It seems like the word patience doesn't exist in her vocabulary. When something displeases her, she'd vandalize the school walls or break windows. She escalated her disruptive behavior, hiding classmates' shoes or putting trash in their bags. It seems Julia caused some trouble at school again. Every time the school calls, my aunt would visit my mom. She's so cute, but such a troublemaker. But it's not her fault. Can we just say it was your daughter, Jessica? After all, Jessica's always jealous of how cute Julia is. My aunt's habit of shifting blame hasn't changed, even now as an adult and a mother. What nonsense are you talking about? After all these years of blaming me for your stupidity, now you're trying to do the same to my daughter? You're crazy. You need to take responsibility and make amends for what your daughter has done. My mom had lived her whole life taking the blame for my aunt's misdeeds since childhood. She is determined not to let us sisters go through the same pain, so she did her best to protect me. Yet somehow, I always ended up cleaning up after Julia's mess. No, it's not like that. Jessica is always threatening me. She tells me to do these things. I don't want to, but I'm too scared to stand up to her. That's probably what she would tearfully tell the teachers and parents of our classmates. The tears from her big eyes are my cousin's greatest weapon. Every time someone sees those tears, they couldn't help but believe her. They're like magical tears. And so, the anger of the victims are usually directed at me. I was filled with frustration. I can't compete with her charms. Plus, I inherited my mom's abilities, I was treated as an oddball just like her. No one believes me, no matter how much I deny it. No matter how much I defend myself, it always falls on deaf ears. And so, pretty much like my mom, I live carrying the burden of my Julia's sins. After graduating middle school, my cousin and I went to different schools. Thank God, we won't see each other. I tried my best to avoid seeing her as much as possible. As time passes, Julia grew even more beautiful, becoming famous in town as a stunning woman who turned heads wherever she went. As for me and my sister, we turned our backs on those rumors and tried to stay out of the spotlight. And finally, Julia and I grew apart. With the snide remarks, harassment, and blame shifting from my cousin gone, my heart felt as clear and bright as a cloudless blue sky. When I turned 25, I met a man at work who I got along with, and we got married. That man is now my husband. Like my dad to my mom, my husband understands and accepts my abilities. He even suggests that we live with my parents, considering their needs. Around the same time as my wedding, happiness also came to my sister, Emily. She got engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Michael, whom she'd been dating since their school days. Their relationship was long, and it took nearly 10 years before they finally got married. My sister's husband was tall, athletic, a refreshing person, easygoing, and very considerate of my sister. Because of that, I trusted him completely. After getting married, my sister moved out of our parents' house and started her married life in an apartment nearby. My sister and her husband often visited our parents' house, quickly becoming close with my husband. On weekends, we all gathered at our parents' house, enjoying barbecue together and building a great relationship. My parents looked so happy. I was sure our relationship would never change. I believed with all my heart that this happiness would last forever. But about a year later, the gears of our happiness suddenly started to go awry. Sis, Michael is acting weird lately. It seemed a rift had started to form between my sister and Michael. He doesn't come home anymore. When he does, he goes straight to the guest room and just stares at his phone. He often goes out on weekends and doesn't even try to talk to me. He won't even look me in the eye anymore, he just keeps turning his back on me. One day, my sister came to our parents' house, crying as she spoke. Reality hit her hard. The husband who had been so caring toward her and had a great relationship with us and our parents is cheating. And when I heard who he was cheating with, I was shocked. It was my cousin, Julia, who we had lost connection with for quite some time now. I saw it. I followed Michael when he sneakily left the house on a weekend. Julia was waiting where he went. They were walking arm in arm, heading into a hotel in broad daylight. These are the photos as proof. I couldn't believe it. How could this happen? There was one time when we ran into Julia in town. I looked down, pretending not to notice, but Julia loudly called out to us. At that moment, it seemed my cousin was more interested in my sister's husband's fresh appearance than in the joy of mocking her. My cousin had also grown up and now exuded a charm she didn't have during her school days. Michael was instantly captivated by her beauty, which made people do double takes as she walked by. Completely ignoring Emily, Michael and Julia quickly fell into conversation. It was nice meeting you. Let's stay in touch. And with that, my cousin left. Stay in touch. My sister turned pale. Even after they parted ways, it seemed Michael couldn't stop talking about my cousin. Why didn't you tell me you have a beautiful cousin before? She's gorgeous, classy, and nothing like any other woman. His words really hurt Emily. If only I'd met her sooner. My sister had reached her breaking point after hearing that. If you like Julia so much, then just go to her. You only judge by looks without knowing what kind of person she really is. My sister couldn't hide her irritation and anxiety as the shadow of my cousin creeps back into her peaceful life. Her husband's words only made things worse, leaving her heart in pieces. It was their first fight as a married couple. What are you talking about? I was just joking. Don't take it seriously. Her husband quickly tried to explain himself and smooth things over, but it was clear his feelings hadn't changed. It seems like Julia felt the same way. She found out about my sister's home from my aunt. She then ambushed Michael, pretending it was a chance encounter, and got close to him. That planned coincidence must have thrilled him. They were overjoyed by their reunion and quickly hit it off. Their relationship from then on got very obvious, and it continues to this day. I never thought Julia would steal Michael from me. Why does she always interfere with our lives? I felt so helpless. That night, I called my aunt and cousin to my parents' house. What's going on? Why do you think you can just summon us? If you need something, you should come to our house. As usual, my aunt was full of complaints and sarcasm. Exactly. We're not like you with all this free time. Julia clearly didn't understand why she had been called. Well, they'll figure it out soon enough. Why don't you at least offer some drinks to your guests? My cousin brazenly sat on the couch. Just then, the doorbell rang. Another set of guests had arrived. I welcomed the guests and led them to the living room where my aunt and cousin were waiting. I said, serve us some drinks. Are you deaf or something? The moment Julia raised her voice, she locked eyes with the other guests who had just entered the living room. Huh? Suddenly, a silence fell over the room. My cousin couldn't hide her shock, she froze, her body stiff, with only her eyes darting around. Because those other guests are Emily and Michael. Michael had no idea about what's gonna happen. He probably never imagined that my cousin would be in this house. His face turned pale, and he slowly lowered his gaze. It looked like sweat was dripping from his forehead. And behind my sister and her husband were Michael's parents. My aunt still didn't understand why she had been called here. She looked around in confusion, as did my sister's in-laws. The reason I've gathered everyone here today is because we suspect our cousin Julia and my sister's husband, Michael, are having an affair, and we want to uncover the truth. My aunt and my sister's in-laws couldn't hide their shock. Emily's in-laws pressed Michael, asking what was going on, but he remained silent. Here is the proof. With that, my sister spread the photos of the affair she had witnessed several times on the table. Each one showed both of them in affectionate moments. My aunt and Michael's parents were speechless as they looked at the photos. Julia and Michael kept their heads down. Michael, Julia, can you explain this? I pressed both of them for answers. But they remained silent, refusing to speak. Then, the first to break the silence was my aunt. Julia, so you've been seeing this gentleman? He's quite charming. Michael, is it? Nice to meet you, I'm Julia's mother. We couldn't believe what we were hearing from my aunt. Michael, it's a pity you ended up with such an ugly wife. No wonder you looked elsewhere. Julia is much more suited for you than this ugly woman. This was an unexpected turn of events. That's right. You were sneaking around, taking pictures of us. It's so petty. Instead of doing that, you should be working on yourself so your husband doesn't leave you. Encouraged by my aunt's words, my cousin threw more snide remarks at my sister. My heartbroken sister looked to her husband for help, but he turned his face away as if it wasn't his problem. Michael is way out of your league. There are plenty of guys who are more your type, plain and boring. That's who you belong with. My cousin's tirade didn't stop. Insult after insult. Julia's right. Michael made the right choice. I mean, 100 out of 100 men would choose Julia over an ugly woman like you. Actually, maybe 1,000 out of 1,000. Or even more. My mother couldn't stay silent after hearing those words. I've been quietly listening, but what horrible things you're saying. No matter how someone looks, it's the inside that counts. A person's worth is determined by their character. My aunt shot a sharp glare at my mother. Mr. and Mrs. Parker, what do you think? No matter how good-looking someone is, you can't let your son be involved with such an unrefined family. It's not too late, please tell them this needs to end. I believed Emily's in-laws are reasonable people. That's what I believed. I thought this would be the end, and we'd finally put my aunt and cousin in their right place. That's what I thought. However, the situation took a turn that betrayed our expectations. Michael's parents defended their son. They harshly blamed my sister. They said the situation was entirely Emily's fault. They claimed she had failed to make an effort to keep her husband. Instead of acknowledging her own shortcomings, she was just making a scene and airing her dirty laundry. They said that Julia is far more attractive as a woman. Their words pierced deep into my sister's heart like needles. Why are they blaming my sister? I couldn't stand this any longer and was about to speak up when. Enough of this. Everyone turned around at the sudden voice. My grandparents were standing at the entrance to the living room. Dad, Mom, what are you doing here? Everyone was shocked by the sudden appearance of my grandparents. Julia said she was called by Jessica, so we were concerned and came by. Then we heard this commotion. We could hear your voices through the window, so we couldn't just stand by and had to come in. My mother, who never had a very good relationship with them, was startled by their sudden appearance and stepped back. My grandparents had always favored my aunt. It was obvious they would take Julia's side. I stood by my sister, not wanting her to be blamed any further. Dad, Mom, you came at just the right time. Emily is making a big deal out of nothing, accusing Michael of cheating over some harmless fun. It's embarrassing. My aunt was thrilled by their arrival, knowing she had more allies now. Exactly, it's pathetic. If you're so upset about this, why don't you try being prettier than me? The mother and daughter tandem didn't hold back. Dad, Mom, say something to her. All we wanted was for Michael to reflect on his actions. If he could end everything with Julia, apologize and face my sister as her husband again, that's all we asked. We wanted him to return to the man he used to be. But our wishes were ignored, and we could only watch as this messy affair is being justified. We were about to give up when. Julia, how could you engage in such a disgraceful affair with a married man? You're disgusting. My grandmother looked at my cousin with contempt, as if she was filth. How can you hold your head up after doing something so disgusting? Don't think for a second that society will accept such filthy behavior. Those were unexpected words. My aunt and cousin couldn't hide their shock. My grandparents, who were somewhat obsessive about cleanliness, couldn't tolerate the filthy act of infidelity. Someone who tramples into another person's home and dirties it, even if they are our grandchild, cannot be forgiven. Julia, no matter what happens from now on, don't come to us for help. Live on your own. My grandfather disowned my cousin. And you too, how disgraceful. Don't ever show your faces to us again. My grandmother directed these harsh words at my aunt and Michael. What do you mean by never again? My aunt asked, a bit scared. It means we're cutting all ties to both of you. Get out of this house right now. My grandfather's words echoed through the living room. The room fell into a silence as if time had stopped. My mother and I were speechless at the completely unexpected turn of events. A long silence followed. Then, what do you mean cutting ties? It was just for fun. She's already regretting it. Suddenly, my aunt shouted as if ignited by a flame. Cutting ties over something like this is just over the top. But those words seemed to further enrage my grandparents. Julia hasn't shown any remorse at all. And what do you mean by over the top? You are the worst kind of people. Get out of here immediately. At this point, it was just an exchange of harsh words. You don't have to tell me twice. I never want to see your faces again. You'll regret cutting ties with us over something like this. My aunt, never one to admit her faults, shouted one last time before storming out of the house. Julia followed her out, and Michael left right after them. Michael's parents, unable to stay any longer, quietly slipped out. In the now quiet living room, my sister suddenly broke down in tears. It was as if the tension she'd been holding finally snapped. I wrapped my arms around her shoulders. Dad, Mom, thank you. It meant so much that you stood by us. Until now, my mother had always taken the blame for my aunt's misdeeds, bearing the brunt of my grandparents' anger, leading to a strained relationship. This is the first time my mother had ever truly established trust with her parents. We were wrong. We turned our backs on what we should have believed in and trusted the words of someone who always lies. Now we finally understand. We're truly sorry. My grandfather sincerely apologized to my mother and us sisters. I know it's late, and I understand that regaining the trust we've lost will take time. But even if it's little by little, could you forgive and give us another chance? My mother looked down, crying. We were wrong. We're so sorry. My grandmother also tried her best to apologize. Dad, Mom. My mother walked over to her parents and continued to cry. My grandmother embraced my mother's shoulders. My sister and I huddled together, watching the scene. Sis, I'm getting a divorce. My sister said softly. There was no regret in her determined gaze. And so, the storm passed. We regained our peaceful lives once again. The evidence of the affair worked in our favor, and my sister received alimony from her ex-husband, finalizing the divorce. I gave birth to a baby boy, making our family home even more lively. My grandparents frequently visited our home to see my son, and we were all living happily. We thought we'd never see my aunt, Julia, or Michael ever again. There wasn't a shred of doubt in our minds. But our struggle wasn't over just yet. For years had passed since then, and the memory of those three began to fade. Then, one day, I'm home. That day, my sister and I planned to have dinner at our parents' house. My sister and I had finished shopping at the local grocery store and returned home, opening the front door. Do we have guests? There were two unfamiliar pairs of shoes lined up in the entryway. Who could it be? I gently lifted my son, who was sleeping in his stroller, and peeked into the living room with my sister. Welcome back. We were so shocked, we couldn't find any words. There, sitting on the living room sofa, was the cousin who had disappeared 4 years ago. What is going on? And next to her was Michael. He is grinning at us. What does he possibly want? Oh, Jessica has a baby too. My cousin was holding a baby too, just a few months old. We're just alike now, both moms. But look at Emily, all alone and getting so fat. She's absolutely hideous. My cousin sneered at my sister, mocking her. My sister swallowed her words, placing a hand on her stomach. I moved my sleeping son to his crib. What do you want? If you have no business here, leave right now. I didn't want them to ruin our happiness any further. We were supposed to be done with them. Don't be so cold. We're both mothers now, right? Are you out of your mind? What are you trying to imply? I struggled to hold back my rising anger. We got married after our confrontation 4 years ago, and unlike someone who's still single, we're having the time of our lives. My cousin shot a creepy smile at Emily. We're here today to get a little celebration gift. You got a lot of alimony, and since you're single, you must have plenty of money. Julia said this to Emily, full of confidence without any remorse. Sorry about back then. Look at this kid's face, an angel, right? Unlike some ugly people. And wow, you've really gotten fat. No guy's gonna come near you now. Michael laughed loudly. He showed no remorse at all. Good thing I divorced that ugly woman before having a kid. Aren't you lucky to have a beautiful mom? He said this while playing with their baby. Emily just remained silent, looking down. To someone who didn't know better, they might seem like a happy family. Maybe with my aunt's help, their parenting seemed to be going well. Julia and Michael seemed to adore their child. But then, why did the baby seem to be in pain? Is something wrong with the baby? He looks like he's suffering. My cousin's expression turned dark at my words. What are you talking about? Of course he's fine. He's sleeping peacefully right now. Don't say such nonsense. I see, only I could see it. The baby was indeed in distress. The baby's face was shrouded in a black mist, making it hard for him to breathe. Unable to cry for help, the baby was desperately trying to communicate with Julia, but it seemed his pleas weren't getting through. I hate to break it to you, but... My cousin, knowing about my ability, turned pale and cut me off. What nonsense are you spouting? Let's go home. Michael looked up in surprise at Julia, who had suddenly stood up. Wait. Did you do something to make someone hate you? A man's grudge has turned into a black mist that's suffocating the baby. I was only focused on their baby's well-being. The black mist is gradually growing thicker and larger. The grudge seems to be getting stronger. How could you possibly know that? There's no way anyone hates me. That man deserved to be dumped. All he ever talked about was love and romance, but he had no money at all. Julia's pale face suddenly turned red. I have no reason to be hated by someone like him. It was supposed to be over and done with. He should have accepted it. Without even pressing, my cousin began to let slip more and more details. Stop making things up. What do you even know about me? She continuously yelled at me. Her eyes were darting around, sweat pouring down her forehead as she started to lose control. Just leave me alone already. At this point, it was unclear who she was even yelling at. Hey, calm down. Who's this guy you're talking about? What do you mean by over and done with? Was there another man besides me? Michael, now confused, confronted Julia. What do you mean no money? Were you just after my money? How long were you seeing that guy? His tone grew increasingly harsh. Ugh. Just shut up. Don't come near me. My cousin was at a loss for words and desperately trying to get away from the situation. What do you mean, shut up? Were you cheating on me? Is that it? Michael is losing his grip on reality. Then, he looked at the baby's face and went completely berserk. Is this kid even mine? Prove it right now. That's when it happened. Why am I the bad guy here? I wish I never had this baby. In her hysteria, she grabbed her baby under the arms and lifted him up. This baby. She looked like she was about to throw the baby. I quickly grabbed the baby away and held him close. What are you doing? This baby has done nothing wrong. My cousin glared at me with bloodshot eyes. Stop it. What are you even doing here? You're yelling so loud the whole neighborhood can hear. Solve your problems between the two of you. And don't ever come into this house again. My mother, who had been watching quietly, finally reached her breaking point. Get out of here, right now. My cousin and her husband snapped back to reality by my mother's voice and left our house. As they were leaving, my mother followed them out, shouting, "Don't ever come back again." My sister kept her head down. No matter what happens to those two from now on, it has nothing to do with you, Emily. Forget anything and everything about Julia once and for all. I put my arm around my sister's shoulder, she looked at me and smiled softly. Thank you, sis. And so, Julia's ridiculous drama came to an end, and peace returned to our home. A few weeks later, my sister's phone rang. It was Micah Heel. My sister refused to hear his voice anymore and ignored the calls, but they kept coming, so she reluctantly answered. On the other end, her ex-husband sounded exhausted, his voice small, like a completely different person. His suspicions had been correct. The baby my cousin was holding is not Michael's, according to the DNA test results. Shockingly, Julia had continued to be involved with several men even after marrying Michael. She used her looks and charms to continue targeting men who looks wealthy. To my cousin, all these men, including Michael, are just ATMs. When my cousin discovered she was pregnant, she panicked. She had no idea whose child it was. Choosing to have the baby, my cousin sought a stable life and decided to keep only Michael, cutting off all her other affairs. Some of the men were not very happy with her sudden decision to break up with them. No matter how many times they asked for a reason, she coldly brushed them off, eventually earning the resentment of some of them. One man who truly loves Julia gave her a large sum of money in hopes of marrying her. After receiving the money, she disappeared and left him. That man is probably still looking for her even now. That grudge must have manifested as the black mist that clung to the baby. On the other side of the story, Michael had to pay Emily a large alimony, which significantly drained his savings. After Michael married Julia, her extravagant spending for over 4 years quickly depleted everything he has, making him useless to her. So, they planned to extort money from Emily under the pretext for a monetary gift for their baby. The nerve they both have to actually try and do this to Emily. I'm really sorry for everything. From now on, I'll work hard and put family first. I'll cherish you, Emily. Please, take me back. I'm begging you. He pleaded with her in a voice so faint, it seemed he might disappear. He must have mistakenly believed that my sister would listen to his request. So the beautiful wife you cheated with ended up cheating on you too? You two are a perfect match, aren't you? Why would you want to get back together with someone as ugly as me? And no, it's not like that, listen to me. His voice was clearly flustered. Oh, so you're just after my money, huh? You've paid alimony to me, and Julia's been draining your money like a sieve, and now you're almost broke, aren't you? He desperately tried to deny it. And calling me fat is just rude. You should know that a woman's body changes when she's pregnant. During the 4 years after the divorce, my sister had found new happiness. She met and married a man who truly cared for her. And now, she is pregnant, lovingly nurturing the life they had created together. Pregnant. You're pregnant. Michael, unable to hide his shock, fell silent for a moment and then suddenly burst into tears. "Why are you crying? You've made me cry enough already. Don't think I'll fall for your act. You're nothing to me since 4 years ago. Stop bothering me. If you show your face to me again, I'll call the police." He didn't say another word. My sister hung up the phone. It was finally over. She lovingly caressed her swollen belly. A few months later, Julia and Michael got divorced. Julia developed a mental illness and could no longer care for her child. Fearing for the child's safety, my aunt decided to place the child in foster care. In the end, the identity of the child's father remained unknown, but it's good to know that the child is growing up healthy. My aunt regretted cutting ties with my grandparents and was trying to mend their relationship. Julia tried to continue relying to her mother, but fearing further damage to her relationship with my grandparents, my aunt began to push her away. My cousin desperately clung to my aunt. But my aunt eventually kicked her out of the house. Being abandoned by her one mother who had always supported her despite her misdeeds dealt a significant blow to her mental state. Her illness worsened, and she became deeply mistrustful of others. With the little money she had left, she managed to rent an old, dirty apartment, which had neither a bath nor a mirror. Eventually, Julia's once prized beauty faded away completely. She had never had trouble attracting men, she always relied on them as her source of income. As a result, she had never worked before and couldn't find a decent job. The only job she managed to get was cleaning public restrooms. The man who harbored a grudge against her is probably still looking for her even now. But even if they passed each other in a park restroom, he would never realize that the cleaner he passed by is the person he's been searching for. Meanwhile, Michael kept calling Emily, no matter how many times she rejected him. "We're strangers now. Don't ruin the family I'm trying to build." My sister dismissed him each time, but he wouldn't give up and continued to stalk her. His persistence frightened my sister so much that it eventually led to police involvement. The rumors quickly spread, reaching his workplace. As a result, his already bad reputation took another hit and was forced to resign by peer pressure. Unable to find a new job, he eventually went completely broke. He couldn't pay his rent and was ultimately evicted from his apartment. He completely lost it, wandered the town with nothing but the clothes on his back. Before long, he disappeared from the town altogether. Since then, no one knows what became of him. Later, Emily gave birth to a healthy baby boy. She moved near my parents' house, where I live, and we began to enjoy raising our children together. My son was thrilled to have a little brother and adored him greatly. They were like real brothers. Sometimes, I find myself thinking about Julia's child. I wonder if he is doing well. The child is innocent, after all. I pray that from now on, he won't be caught up in adult problems and that the suffocating black mist never haunts him again. It's time for my son's nap. The two of them lie side by side, peacefully sleeping in the sunlight. They're probably having sweet dreams. They are surrounded by a warm and gentle color. I wished for them to always be enveloped in this color, growing up healthy and happy.